So today we are doing my 20, oh my god, Okay, so today we are doing my top 5 murder mysteries of 2024. I was about to say 2025, getting a bit ahead of myself. This is a genre of books that I've been reading forever. I grew up on Agatha Christie. I love murder mystery series, whether that's film, TV, books, I love them. So ages ago on my blog, I decided to do a designated list of those that I loved the most from the year and just really lift up and hype up the crime genre. So yes, so let's get into it. So I just want to preface before we get into this that all of these books have been sent to me by the publisher. I do not know how that has happened. It just so happens that my favorite books of the year have been books that I have received as like review copies, things like that. They are all specifically for honest reviews. They would not be on this list if I didn't 100% love them. If I didn't love them, they probably won't be mentioned. I tend to not really talk about books that I don't like. I tend to just go, oh, I read it and I didn't like it, and then we move on. So yes, I just want to preface and say that all of these were originally sent to me as review copies, but I did 100% love them and I do want to shout about them. So that is just a little preface. I really want to quickly preface a really, really good book that comes under like the crime sphere, but I wouldn't really consider it a murder mystery. These are like my favorite murder mysteries. Before the Fact by Frances Iles is an incredible psychological thriller, which I would highly, highly recommend. It was taken off the list just because I was focusing on murder mysteries. And while you got to read the book to understand, but it's more of a psychological thriller than anything else. But I did want to preface that is the honorable mention of this video. Please check it out, Before the Fact by Frances Iles. I think it was turned into a movie by Alfred Hitchcock, and I think it was called Suspicion. So first on the list is Murder at Holly House by Denzil Merrick, which is a Christmas crime book. I feel like with Christmas crime, you can tell when someone has actively made the decision to write a Christmas book, a Christmas murder mystery book. For example, this one is part of now what's going to be an ongoing Christmas murder mystery series. So there will be one out, I think, every Christmas. His second one is out already. And then there's other people that just write a Christmas mystery for the sake of having to write a Christmas mystery, and you can tell. I've read many Christmas mysteries where I've gone, this doesn't feel like an intentional choice, but this is not one of them. Christmas is on in the background, but oh my God, sometimes I forget this was even a Christmas crime book because the plot was it literally sucks you in, completely sucks you in. It follows Inspector Frank Grasby. Is it Grasby? Yeah, Inspector Frank Grasby, as he's put on secondment to this very, very tiny, boring village because in the big city where he works, he just keeps messing up. He keeps making problems. He honestly, at the beginning of the book, you're like, I don't know how I'm supposed to end up rooting for this character at the end of the book because he's an idiot. He's an insufferable idiot. The characterization and the character development of Inspector Frank Grasby is done so well. It's done so well. It's so natural. It flows so well. But yeah, at the beginning of the book, you're like, I'm not even sure I particularly like this guy, which makes for an incredible reading experience. I like not really knowing whether I like a character or not. But you follow him through this very boring small town. They have their own ways. They do their own things. They don't really care for the big cities. And he ends up solving a very interesting and detailed plot that I can't obviously go into too much detail about. But let me tell you, when you go into this and you're going, cool, I love a good village, cozy crime, village story, add a bit of Christmas. And then you get halfway through and you're like, how the hell did we get here? How did we get here? And I do think this is just, perfect for Christmas. If you don't like super intense, cheesy Christmas books, I'd highly recommend this. I loved it. I was so unexpectedly loving it. I kind of went into it thinking this was just going to be a fun Christmas book and ended up literally, it consumed my soul. It was so good, so entertaining. So the next book on the list is The Potting Shed Murder by Paula Sutton, which if somebody said to me, what would you choose as the epitome of what cozy crime is? Or what book would you recommend for somebody that loves cozy crime and wants to get into cozy crime and understand what it is? Read it. Read this. It is genuinely everything that you would want, in my opinion, from a good cozy crime. Great detective, great setting, great side characters, a really good balance of cool and quirky and like cushiness, while also having a good element of darker themes and more serious themes, because I do think you should have that in your cozy crime. That's just my opinion. But this is genuinely, such an incredible cozy crime. Follows Daphne, who moves from London to a Norfolk village just to get away from the city life, and she tries to acclimatise herself in this village with her family, and not long after they arrive, her children's headmaster gets murdered and her newfound friend gets blamed for it. And in defense of her newfound friend, she takes upon herself to find a little bit more information, and it's through her kindness and her inquisitiveness and her consideration for other people that she solves the murder. Rarely do we see in literary detectives people just being nice. Detectives being nice. They're not bumbling idiots. They're not who actually are secretly incredibly smart and solve the murder. They're not gruff or aggressive and all my way or the highway. She's just a kind, caring woman, and it's her love and appreciation for other people that gets her to the point where she's able to solve it. So good. So good. Yeah, just incredible. The setting is so well realised. The side characters are incredibly believable. The writing's really interesting. You don't just follow Daphne or Daphne's sidekick. She doesn't have a sidekick. You're not just in their heads, you're in the heads of everyone, of all the suspects, of the murderer, everything. Like, you are following the entire village as an entirety. So it makes it really interesting because you really feel like you're solving it alongside Daphne, because at certain points you have more information than she does, which makes for such an incredible reading experience. Yeah, just incredibly good. I would highly recommend this. Incredible cozy crime. Following on from that, we have another village-based mystery, and that is How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. This is incredibly interesting as a really good use of time zones. Time zones is not what I'm trying to say. Time periods. Very good use of time periods. This follows our main character, whose name I have now forgotten. Annie, I thought it was Alice. Follows our main character, Annie, who gets contacted by her great aunt saying that she would like to meet her for the first time. And she's very confused. She doesn't know much about her mum's family. Her mum keeps that kind of very secret and to herself. So she goes down to meet this great aunt, only to find out her great aunt has been murdered. And not only that, her great aunt knew she was going to be murdered and actually knows who killed her. And the way to gain her inheritance is by solving her murder that she already has solved herself before she was murdered. Does that make sense? It's really good. So you follow Annie on her search to find out her great aunt's murderer, secure her inheritance, learn a lot about her mum's past, as well as flicking between a timeline. Timeline is what I was trying to say. Flicking between the timeline of a specific diary filled out by her great aunt in one very poignant summer in her great aunt's life that kind of kickstarts all the events that happen in the rest of the book, even up to the modern day. So it's just an incredible use of past and present, of diary entries and normal prose. I love the diary entries the most. There was something about those characters specifically that was just so engaging. And I really liked Annie, but Frances, the great aunt, was such an interesting character. It's a really good sense of family and understanding what family is. I think I read this in like 3 or 4 days. I flew through it. It was so good. I actually have somewhere in this stack the sequel, How to Seal Your Own Fate. Comes out in March next year and I'm so excited. I just thought this was such an inventive way to do a murder mystery. And I think that's what this kind of list really is I'm choosing a lot of inventive ways, or really just being the epitome of a subgenre is what I loved from this year, and this one is one of them. So good. The next one I have is What a Way to Go by Bella Mackie. I have not read How to Kill Your Own Family. How to Kill Your Family? How to Kill Your Family? How to Kill Your Own Family? I've not read it. I have it on my Kindle. Everybody went on about it. Everybody loved it. I get a bit scared of reading hyped up books. Can I share this? I'll share this right now. The minute anything gets a big amount of hype, in my brain, I can't read it anymore. I'm like, no, everybody's read it. I don't want to read it. It's not happening. I'm not doing it. I can't explain to you why that is. Why a lot of people be like, oh my God, have you read this really popular book? No. My brain is actually locked off from reading that for the rest of my life, until the hype dies down at least. So I didn't read her previous book, but I was given a copy. I went to a publishing event earlier this year, kind of at the summertime, maybe. Anyway, I went, and this was one of the books that they were giving out, and I was really intrigued by the premise. It's like Knives Out meets Succession in book form, and I can't really explain to you too much about the plot because it does something very early on in this book that I do think is going to be quite controversial. You're either going to absolutely love it or you're going to hate it. I fell in the camp of absolutely loving it. I thought it was really inventive. I really just liked those parts of the book. But yeah, it's going to be a love or hate thing. I've personally not seen anybody hate it, but I know that some people won't like that in their murder mysteries. But you follow 3 different points of view after this big CEO gets murdered at his own birthday. And it's all 3 unreliable narrators. I fucking love an unreliable narrator. And I'm saying unreliable narrator because it's not a spoiler that it's an unreliable narrator. Like, you get it from the get-go. These people are so in their own head, so all about themselves, so they are automatically unreliable because they have no self-awareness. I feel that in the Potting Shed murder, all the characters are so incredibly realized, and even the characters that aren't that great, you can have an understanding of them. The side characters in this book, they're not good people. It is a book full of terrible, terrible, terrible people, which makes it so engaging. It's what makes it so thrilling. I think it also has a plot where it just continually gets worse. Like, you're not into the point of plot fatigue, but you do kind of think to yourself, wow, this is really shit. It can only get better from here. And then Bella Mackie said, no, it can only get incredibly worse. But really engaging writing. I was really happy to go into this rather than the first one, because I think, again, if I went into a really, really popular book, my brain automatically is just like, we're not going to like it. But this was so much fun, so thrilling. I really liked the ending. Again, I think some people may not like the ending. I really liked it. I think everything added up incredibly. I think it makes sense for the characters. I desperately want people to read this. It was so good. And when you get to the certain point that you get to... Actually, is it in the first chapter? Hold on. Maybe I'm about to say something. Oh, it's in the first chapter. You're going to read the first chapter and you're going to understand exactly what I'm saying. You're going to be like, oh, this makes sense. You're going to be like, I understand why she thought this was controversial. So, come back and let me know. And finally, we have my guaranteed number 1 spot. Well, all of these I love regardless. This is my guaranteed number 1 spot. And you're thinking to yourself, India, you said top 5 murder mysteries of the year. Why are there 3 books in your hands? And it's a good question to ask. I'll be asking the same thing. The thing is, I enjoyed all of them individually, but as a package, they are so much better. And because there is no rule for these things, I'm counting them all as number 1. This is the Ernest Cunningham series by Benjamin Stevenson, which is an Australian crime series that is incredibly meta, incredibly funny, probably the most original crime series I have read in the entirety of my life. You genuinely, I feel like if you're not reading this, you're missing out on something spectacular, something that's not really being that done. And if it has been done, I've missed it. But it's so good. You have everyone in my family has killed someone, which is set on a ski resort in Australia, which weirdly threw me off. My UK only brain was like, why is it snowing in August? I missed the bit where it was set in Australia, and for ages I was like, it's set in August, but it's snowing. But it's summer. And then my brain was like, sorry, do you want to use yourself for a second? Like, use it. Australia. And I was like, different hemisphere. Got it. What an idiot. Anyway, set in a ski resort in Australia, and it follows a very, very awkward family reunion in which someone gets murdered. And our titular character, Ernest Cunningham, he is a crime writer, but he specifically focuses on writing how-to guides, how to write crime mysteries, how to focus on the golden age rules of crime and like apply that to your writing. He's not written a crime book himself, just like a how-to guide. So he knows how these things work. He understands and has analyzed crime books for his whole life. And he ends up in his own murder. And when you read the book, you find out he solved the murder. And this is him writing his own account of what happened. So when you're reading this, he is going, hey guys, thanks for picking up my book. I survived. I solved a murder, nearly died for it. But we're here. So you're reading a book, so it's very meta. You're reading a book about a murder that this guy solved. And there's a lot of references to like, if you were shocked by what happens in this chapter, wait till you get to chapter 27. Or he'll go, the murderer is mentioned 150 times in this book. And since we're halfway through the book, here's all the characters and the amount of times that their name has been written in this book. And if you're thinking, you told me that the murder weapon was this, but this has come up and it doesn't seem like the murder weapon, wait till chapter 50. So smart. It's ingenious. It's so incredibly inventive. I love it. So that's book 1. Book 2, which is probably my favourite in the series so far, is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, which is set on a train. Amazing. And it follows Ernest, who is invited to a VIP crime writing festival set on a train for its 50th year, I want to say. And it's all different kinds of authors. So if you're someone that likes books and the publishing industry and learning about things like that, you will get so much from this. One of the authors dies. Everybody seems to know everybody somehow. Again, so incredibly inventive. Definitely my favorite of the 3 that I read. And then to top it all off, we have another Christmas crime. Again, another really good intentional Christmas crime. And what's so good about this is he gives you, it's 24 chapters. And at the end of each chapter, he gives you a clue and literally lays out the clues for you and go, here are the clues. I've given you all the explanations for the clues. Solve it yourself. So smart. Obviously, he gives you the answer, but it's just so smart. And also you get to enjoy a Christmas, personally for myself, I get to enjoy a Christmas that I don't know much about, which is a very sunny Australian Christmas, which I've never heard about or experienced, apart from my brother was telling me about it because he's in Australia at the moment. But anyway, yeah, so good, so incredibly inventive. It's definitely a book series that I just, in my soul, feel that people need to read. And it comes into my number 1 spot because they work so well together individually, obviously, but also as a trio. You know how everybody says that they want more Knives Out movies and they want Knives Out movies until Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson can't make any more Knives Out movies? That's how I feel about these books. I want Ernest Cunningham books until Benjamin Stevenson can no longer write books at all. I love them. So good. So here we are. This is my top 5, give or take, murder mysteries of 2024. I am so excited to go into 2025 because I have made a very conscious decision. I will do a whole video about it, but I've made a conscious decision about how I go about the books that I read. I've read so much. I think I've read over 160 books this year, and I really want to start slowing down on my reading and read less. And the genre that I want to focus on is crime. Even though I've obviously read a lot of crime, I just want to read more crime books really desperately, and I really want to get back into classic crime books. So I own a lot of like the British Library crime classics, and I just really want to read more books that are going to make my brain think. So non-fiction, epic fantasy, crime, I just want to read it all. So we might have a bit more of a complicated, we may not even have a top 5 next year, we may have a top 10, I don't know. But yeah, these top 5, give or take, has really inspired me to just really focus on crime books next year. So yes, I can't wait. It's going to be so good, and hopefully you'll come along on the journey. Thank you so much for watching.